In just over 100 days, Americans go to the polls. But Donald Trump is not happy after his former advisor released a damning book. John Bolton claims the president runs the corridors of power like a college dorm. Robert Penfold spoke to him from Washington.
During his time in the White House, John Bolton worked up close with Donald Trump.
You are going to do a fantastic job, and I appreciate you joining.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
The National Security Advisor is often described as the first person in the Oval Office to see the president in the morning, and the last person he or she sees before making any major foreign policy or security decisions. Bolton resigned in September last year, and here's why.
I really came to the conclusion he's not fit to be president. And for both history and for people's consideration in the election, if somebody like me doesn't tell the truth, who will?
John Bolton, a staunch conservative, has a long history in Washington working for 3 other presidents going back to Ronald Reagan. With Donald Trump, it started well enough.
I think he's going to be a fantastic representative of our team. He's highly respected by everybody in this room.
Bolton writes in his book, The Room Where It Happened, those long-standing alliances countries such as Britain, Australia and Germany worked on with the US for so many years don't mean much to President Trump.
He sees things in dollars and cents terms. I don't think he fully understands what a mutual defense alliance is, but he says frequently to countries like Japan or some of our NATO allies, we are defending you, when in fact, in a common defense alliance, we're all defending each other. And I think it's a real historical anomaly that has cost the United States quite a bit.
Bolton says the president is stunningly uninformed on foreign affairs. The Australian government officials seemed to agree back in 2017, and for this New York meeting and dinner with the then PM, Malcolm Turnbull, the Aussies decided to make a video about the long history of the alliance, knowing that was the best way to catch Trump's attention because he loves TV.
It sounds like it was a good idea. The president's not intellectually curious. He doesn't read the intelligence briefings. He doesn't feel a need to learn much. He thinks he can resolve things through instinct. He has often said, for example, that he could just sit down with the Ayatollah Khamenei or President Rouhani of Iran and one day resolve the nuclear issue. He obviously felt the same sort of thing was possible with Kim Jong-un.
As a foreign affairs specialist, Bolton continually tried to advise Donald Trump not to trust the friendly, buddy-buddy style atmosphere the Russians and the Chinese created during talks.
Others, like Vladimir Putin, like Xi Jinping, who are hard men, who know what they think Russia and China's interests are respectively, and who are not confused by the personal relationships between leaders, but understand what national interests are. I think when they sit across the table from Donald Trump, it's not a fair fight.
Yet he seems to admire them all the same.
Well, he's a big guy. They're big guys. They get together. They talk about big guy things.
Bolton writes he was continually astonished by Trump's behaviour, and particularly his use of Twitter. The childish name-calling, labelling Canadian PM Trudeau very dishonest and weak, claiming any negative Trump news as a witch hunt or a hoax, saying he has the legal power to pardon himself, or tweeting, "There's no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea." What's the feeling inside the White House when he keeps pressing the send button on some of those messages you obviously don't want to go out there?
Right. Well, that became clear to me very early that there was no effective way of controlling that. After a while, you get numb to it. And this is a problem because you can't advance American interest by acting like a teenager. And that is a real problem that is going to require, I think, considerable effort to clean up the damage that's been done by that kind of conduct.
Not surprisingly, Bolton got the Trump treatment when he was told about Bolton writing the book.
And maybe he's not telling the truth. He's been known not to tell the truth a lot.
And of course, he starred on Trump's Twitter feed as well, the president calling him a disgruntled, boring fool who only wanted to go to war. What a dope.
I've never seen a White House like this. It was like being in a college dormitory.
Would you just sometimes just shake your head and say, look, I just can't believe this is happening?
Different presidents had different styles. This president's decision-making style comes almost entirely from his gut. And so you ask on Tuesday morning, you can get one answer. You can ask the same question on Thursday afternoon and get a different answer.
The Apprentice reality show, and this was the first look most Americans got of Trump. The reality TV star who loved the camera, the man who thrives on chaos.
You're fired. Go.
And Bolton believes he took these same tricks with him to the White House.
I think he believes that if he says something enough, he can make it a reality. So, for example, when North Korea was launching short and intermediate range ballistic missiles, Trump would say, just downplay it. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't talk about it. Say it was artillery. Because after all, if you say it often enough, it will be true. Well, that may work on television in a series or a drama. It doesn't work that way in the real world.
Already, another book is knocking John Bolton off the pedestal of the top-selling title in the US. Now it's Mary Trump, the president's niece. She has a story to tell about the Donald Trump she knows.
He's utterly incapable of leading this country. And it's dangerous to allow him to do so.
This is not the kind of thing he needs in an election year, and I think it's the principal reason he wanted to suppress my book. His family is doing the same thing to her book they tried to do to mine, which is to make sure it's not published. That's a great way to advertise.
Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic has seen his popularity poll numbers crash. According to John Bolton, for good reason.
In early January and February, when staff at the National Security Council, the Centers for Disease Control, and others were raising red flags about coronavirus, Trump didn't want to hear it.
Have you been briefed by the CDC?
I have.
Are the words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all.
He didn't want to hear bad things about the cover-up and deception about the effect of the disease in China, and he certainly didn't want to think about a potentially devastating negative effect on the U.S. economy, which he saw as his ticket to re-election. If you're not prepared to face reality, how can you possibly deal with it?
So what's a man to do? John Bolton, the lifelong Republican, who now hates the idea of the leader of his beloved Republican Party winning the November election.
I'm not going to vote for Trump. It's the first time in my adult life I will not have voted for the Republican nominee, but I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden either. But I do think that a Biden presidency will be more typical in the sense it will be more orderly. But I think the chaos of the Trump administration is not typical of the future. It is an anomaly unique to Trump himself.
And John Bolton's book is available now.